What is up, everyone? Please take a second to hit that like button. The more likes that we get in a short period of time, the more people the algorithm will bring into the chat to come hang out with us and see what's going on. So please hit that like button and let me know how you're doing. What's up, Emo B? What's up, Dennis? What's up, Lourdes? What's up, everyone on Twitch? What's up, everyone on Odyssey? What's up, everyone on Rumble? And what's up, everyone on Facebook? What's up, I'm a star? What's up, Todd? What's up, Patty? Why are you doing shitty? What's up, Jesse? What's up, Bones Mama? Oh, I'm sure this is going to be full on lying and crying here after hearing old man Walter speak. Hitler Biden. Actually, I gotta grab a graphic really quick. That reminds me. What's up, YT Security? What's up, Jersey Devil? I'm surprised they're not on the screen yet. This might be the new old man Walter graphic. Him with the Hitler Biden. I have to remember that for next time. What's up, Kath? What's up, Chris? What's up, Space Pirate? What's up, Delilah? What's up, All Rise? This is your favorite beat? Anthony, I don't know what the requirement is to live stream on Odyssey. I wrote customer service before they were allowing other people to live stream, and they gave me early access, so I'm not sure what it actually takes. What's up, Mama Bear? Did I see LA? Is LA where the school whatever is happening? That's the only thing I know that's going on, is that. I don't know if it's in LA or not, though. What's up, Vic? Yeah, you know that's what it's gonna be. A bunch of pointing the finger. That's what these guys are good at. Space Pirate. The chat's crapping out and the video's all blurry. That's not good. Hold on, let me see if it's on my end. I don't know, my bitrate is smooth. Ever since I changed my settings and stuff, it seems like the stream has been smooth. I mean, I can't tell what you're seeing, but I can only tell from how my bitrate is moving. What's up, Indigo? What's up, All Clark? What's up, Joanne? It looks smooth on your guys' ends. The chat is blurry.
Good afternoon. Thanks for joining us. In a moment, I'll turn to Doctors Walensky, Fauci, and Murthy. I'll start by discussing the progress we're making on testing, vaccination, and boosters, 3 critical parts of the president's 6-point plan to accelerate our path out of the pandemic. First, testing. In the past few months, testing has increased, particularly at-home testing, a convenient option that came to market earlier this year. To meet this increased demand, the president's plan ramps up both the availability of tests and access to free testing. In just a matter of weeks, we've made significant progress on both fronts. In September, at the president's direction, the federal government invested $2 billion to ensure tests are available to those who need them and to provide manufacturers with purchase commitments that allow them to ramp up their production. And this week, we're making even more progress. On Monday, FDA authorized a new rapid at-home test from Acon Laboratories, which will bring tens of millions more rapid at-home tests to the market. Over the past day, we've also received commitments from 2 manufacturers, Quidel and OraSure, to further expand manufacturing and speed up their production of rapid tests, taking months off their timelines and adding tens of millions of tests per month to their production capacity. And today we're making another billion-dollar investment to further mobilize testing manufacturers. This means companies will be able to expand production of tests even further based on the United States government's commitment to procure an additional 180 million rapid tests over the course of the next year, with tens of millions more tests coming to market over the course of the next 30 days. Thanks to the president's actions in September, we were on track to double the supply of rapid home tests available on the market each month by early November. Authorization of the new Acon test on Monday accelerates this pace, and we are now on track to triple the number by early November. And then today's billion-dollar investment to further expand testing production puts us on track to quadruple the amount of at-home rapid tests available for Americans by December. So that means we'll have available supply of 200 million rapid at-home tests per month starting in December, with supply of tens of millions of additional tests coming on the market across the next few weeks. At the same time as we increase rapid at-home testing, we're increasing access to free testing. Free testing has been central to our COVID response from day one of the administration. And in early September, the president committed to expanding the number of pharmacies in the federal government's free testing program to 10,000 local pharmacies across the country. We're on track to meet that goal in the coming weeks, and today We're doubling our commitment to a total of 20,000 local pharmacies. That's 20,000 local pharmacies that will offer free testing through the federal government's pharmacy program. This represents an 8-fold increase from when the president entered office. And that's on top of the 10,000 other community-based free testing sites in the country, many of which are supported by federal investments in community testing. So in total, we will have 30,000 community-based sites in the US where people can walk in and get a free test, absolutely a free test. To summarize, we are on track to quadruple the supply of rapid at-home tests available to Americans by December to more than 200 million a month, and to increase the number of places Americans can access free testing in the United States to 30,000 community-based locations. Together, the steps we're taking will ensure that every American, no matter their income level or zip code, can access accurate, convenient, and affordable testing. Second, vaccinations. Vaccinating the unvaccinated remains the top priority, including through vaccination requirements. Last month, the president announced new vaccination requirements that will cover about 100 million Americans. Tomorrow, the president will travel to Chicago, home of United Airlines, which was an early mover on vaccine requirements. And in the last few days, we've seen American Airlines, Southwest, JetBlue, Alaska Airlines all announce new vaccination requirements for their employees. Vaccination requirements work. New data reinforces that fact each day. On Monday, New York City reported that 96% of its roughly 150,000 full-time school employees had at least their first shot by the city's vaccination deadline. So from the US military to big and small businesses, to colleges and universities, to healthcare employers, and now the largest school district in the nation, we have seen that vaccination requirements work to dramatically increase vaccination rates. Third, booster shots. We're working with states, tribes, and territories, pharmacies, community health centers, doctors, and other providers to get booster shots in arms. The Department of Veterans Affairs is reaching out to over 700,000 veterans currently eligible to receive their booster. In states, including Connecticut, New Hampshire, Virginia, Indiana, Michigan, Minnesota, Wisconsin, Oregon, Idaho, and Washington are leveraging support from the federal government to reach underserved communities, including by standing up community vaccination centers and meeting people where they are with mobile clinics. This work is clearly paying off. We estimate that 4 million Americans have now rolled up their sleeves and gotten a booster shot, including 2 million in the first week and another 2 million in just the last 5 days. So our booster program is not only up and running, but it's also accelerating. And we're building on our strong start to get millions of eligible Americans their booster shot. I'll close with this. We've made tremendous progress over the past 8 months, and we are executing well against the president's 6-point plan. We're on the right track, but we need everyone to do their part. So if you're unvaccinated, or if you're eligible for a booster shot, please go get a shot today.
Fuck you.
It's free, safe, and easy. With that, over to Dr. Walensky.
Thank you, Jeff. Good afternoon. Let's begin with an overview of the data. Our 7-day average is about 97,910 cases per day, which represents a decrease of about 12% over the previous week. The 7-day average of hospital admissions is about 7,400 per day, also a decrease of about 14% from last week. And the 7-day average of daily deaths remains fairly constant at 1,400 per day. Each week, we share with you the science of why vaccination is our most powerful tool against COVID-19. We are committed to making sure that all eligible Americans receive the best protection against COVID-19 by getting vaccinated. Currently, 186 million Americans are fully vaccinated against COVID-19, and we are adding hundreds of thousands of more each day. Today, I want to remind you that vaccination is not just important for COVID-19, it's also important for preventing other infectious diseases, especially influenza or flu. This week, CDC has started collecting data for our full weekly influenza surveillance report, which we will start publishing online beginning on October 15th and continue throughout the flu season. Each week, we publish comprehensive data on outpatient influenza-like illness, laboratory-confirmed hospitalizations, and influenza-related deaths. Last year, there were very few flu cases, largely because of masking and physical distancing and other prevention measures put in place for the COVID-19 pandemic. With modest flu virus activity since March of 2020, CDC's flu experts are concerned that reduced population-level immunity to the seasonal flu could place us at risk for a potentially severe flu season this year. The symptoms of flu can often be similar to those with COVID-19, which can lead to additional needs for flu and COVID testing and isolation for either of the diseases, especially in schools. And even as average daily COVID hospitalizations are decreasing, we continue to see many hospitals and intensive care units across the country at full capacity. Each year in the United States, influenza can claim between 12,000 and 52,000 lives and results in 140,000 to 710,000 hospitalizations, another toll we need to work hard to avoid. Furthermore, an increase in flu infections and flu severity could put an additional burden on our healthcare system and increase stress on our nation's healthcare workers. Please do your part to ensure that everyone is best protected against flu by getting vaccinated. CDC recommends flu vaccination for anyone who is 6 months or older. And just like with COVID-19, we need as many people as possible to be vaccinated for influenza so that we can provide protection for those who are at most risk, such as adults who are over 65, those of any age who have chronic health conditions such as asthma, heart disease, or diabetes, and in children, especially under 5, who are at risk of severe complications from the flu. I encourage you to take the time to get information you need and to roll up your sleeves to get vaccinated against the flu. For those who have yet to be vaccinated against COVID-19, please consider rolling up your sleeves and receiving your flu vaccine alongside your COVID-19 vaccine. It is safe and effective to get both vaccines at the same time. Getting vaccinated against flu and against COVID-19 is the best way that everyone can stay healthy, protecting themselves, their loved ones, and their communities. Just yesterday, I received my flu vaccination, as I do every single year, to protect myself, my family, and my patients. Thank you. I'll now turn things over to Dr. Fauci.
Just get all the jabs. Just get all jabbed up.
What I'd like to do
These
in the next
idiots.
few minutes is talk a little bit about the therapeutic aspect of countermeasures against COVID-19, specifically pointing out a program looking at both the development and the discovery of new molecules. First slide. When one looks at therapeutics for COVID-19, and these are just some selected therapeutics, the two major concepts are to target the virus or to moderate an aberrant host response. We already have one FDA-approved small molecule, remdesivir. There are other antivirals in trial, which I'll get to in a moment. Monoclonal antibodies have been very successful and are much more readily used right now for their success in the treatment, particularly of early disease, and most recently even for prophylaxis. Moderating the host has been successful with drugs like dexamethasone and others that interfere with various components of the inflammatory pathway. Next slide. But what I want to talk about now is an approach towards the development of direct-acting, orally available antivirals, as I've written about with my colleague, Dr. Kat Paulus, recently, when we talk about what the therapeutic landscape is. So I'm going to talk about a particular recent announcement, but I want to put it into perspective of what the broad program is so that you can understand things that you might expect in the coming months and years. Next slide. The Biden administration has invested $3.2 billion from the American Rescue Plan as part of this antiviral development strategy that I mentioned just a slide ago. Next slide. It is referred to as the Antiviral Program for Pandemics, which aims to catalyze the development of new medicines to combat not only COVID-19, but to also prepare us and position us for therapies against other pandemic threats. Next slide. This is a slide of the replication cycle of SARS-CoV-2. And as you can see on any viral replication cycle, there are areas that are vulnerable targets for the development of drugs such as polymerase inhibitors, protease inhibitors, and entry inhibitors, among others. This is very similar to the approach that was used for the highly successful development of combination drugs for HIV and for HCV, or hepatitis C virus. Next slide. The program has two components. One is to develop and accelerate the development of compounds that are already showing some promise. The second part, which will take years, is to expand our basic science knowledge in the discovery of new antiviral medications. Next slide. So when you look at those things that are already in development, direct acting antiviral drugs, as I mentioned, they fall into a couple of different categories. The one that has recently gained attention is molnupiravir, which is a combination, as I'll mention, among a number of elements, a number of organizations to collaborate in its development. Next slide. As you know, a few days ago, there was an announcement by Merck and Ridgeback of a placebo-controlled trial of about 1,500 people in which the Data and Safety Monitoring Board stopped the study early after the first analysis of 775 people. The endpoint of the study was the prevention of hospitalization or death, and the results were very encouraging. 7% hospitalization in the treatment arm and 14% or death in the placebo arm. That leads to a 50% decrease in the endpoint of hospitalization or death. Of note, in the placebo group, there were 8 deaths. In the treatment group, there were no deaths. Next slide. So now the Biden administration has announced the US government procurement of this investigational antiviral for COVID-19 treatment. It is very important that this now must go through the usual process of careful examination of the data by the Food and Drug Administration, both for effectiveness, but also for safety, because whenever you introduce a new compound, safety is very important. Next slide. I want to point out something that is of interest, that this is an example of a good cross-section collaboration and cross-sector collaboration in which basic research and product development was funded not only by my institute, NIAID, but by the Defense Threat Reduction Agency at Emory, Georgia State, University of Alabama in Birmingham, University of North Carolina, Vanderbilt, and the drug was developed by a drug innovation ventures at Emory called Drive, and it was finally licensed to Ridgeback, who then partnered with Merck. An example of a true cross-sector collaboration. Next slide. So finally, we have another potential tool, again, pending very close scrutiny by the FDA, a promising new oral drug that people could take at home soon after COVID-19 to reduce the risk of severe outcomes. But having said all that, we always get back to the common message that we all give you. That is vaccines. They remain our best tools against COVID-19 because it is much, much better to prevent yourself from getting infected than to having to treat an infection. I'll turn it over to you now, Dr. Murthy.
Great. Well, thank you, Dr. Fauci, and it's nice to be with everyone again today. Today, I'd like to speak about vaccine requirements. In the last few months, more organizations have announced COVID-19 vaccine requirements. And as all of you know, the president recently announced the federal government will be using its authorities and levers to require vaccination for federal workers, healthcare workers, and organizations with 100 or more employees. As Jeff mentioned, the president will be talking more about this in Chicago tomorrow. I want to make 3 points today about vaccine requirements. First, vaccine requirements are not new. In 1777, President George Washington required soldiers to be inoculated against smallpox. In the 1800s, many public schools began to require vaccination for their students. During World War II, the US military required their troops to be vaccinated against a number of diseases, including typhoid, tetanus, and yellow fever. For years, our doctors and nurses, including me, have complied with vaccine requirements in hospitals and other healthcare settings in order to care for patients. And the list goes on. Vaccine requirements are part of our historical effort to protect the public's health. The second point I want to make is this. Vaccine requirements work. They increase vaccination rates. Today, over 90% of children are vaccinated against polio, hepatitis, measles, mumps, and rubella by the time they turn 2. And that high level of coverage has allowed us to protect the vast majority of kids from these diseases. That high degree of vaccination also shields the minority of children who may be immunocompromised or who may not respond to a vaccine. For the COVID-19 vaccines, we're already seeing their requirements work. To name just a couple of examples, over 99% of workers at United Airlines are in compliance with their company's vaccination requirements, up from 59% in August. And in the Henry Ford Health System, 98% of workers are in compliance with their organization's vaccine requirements, which is up from 68% when they announced the requirement. The third point I want to make, vaccine requirements reflect a fundamental reality, that our individual decisions affect other people when it comes to COVID. We don't live in a bubble. We live in a community. And that is why there have been a number of instances throughout history where we have made a decision as a society to abide by common rules that protect the common good. We've agreed to drive below the speed limit, recognizing that when we take on the risk of speeding, it can cost other people their lives. We've made rules so that people can't smoke in indoor bars and restaurants because secondhand smoke can harm the health of others. Looking out for one another, for our collective health and well-being, is at the heart of what makes us strong and resilient as a nation. Vaccine requirements help us continue this tradition of protecting the common good. Now, vaccine requirements are fundamentally about creating safer spaces for people to work, learn, and get healthcare. We are incredibly fortunate to have vaccines that are highly effective and are proven to have a strong safety profile. The more people who get vaccinated, the more lives we will save, and the faster this pandemic will come to an end.
Hitler
Thanks for
tactics.
your time, and I'll pass it back to Jeff for questions.
Well, thanks, doctors. Let's open it up for a few questions. Kevin?
Thanks. First question, let's go to David Lim at Politico.
Hi, thanks for taking the question. President Biden campaigned on expanding the availability of COVID-19 testing. I wanted to ask, why are these new investments into at-home tests coming 9 months after he took office? Some public health experts I've spoken to suggest that the focus on the vaccination campaign had the side effect of kind of an inadequate amount of resources being put into securing rapid tests. Should these contracts have been signed sooner, perhaps months ago?
So, our testing strategy ensures widespread, high quality and affordable testing for symptomatic individuals, and also promotes regular screening for congregate settings like schools and nursing homes. In the past few months, testing has increased, particularly at-home testing, and that at-home testing convenient option came to market just earlier this year. So to meet the increased demand, the president's plan has ramped up both the availability of tests and access to free testing. Thanks to the $2 billion investment that we talked about last month, we're on track to double the supply to meet this increased demand for this new innovative, convenient product. And thanks to more action this week, as we talked about, and the authorization of the new test by the FDA, another $1 billion investment on top of that, we're on track to quadruple. So we've increased access to at-home testing as the innovation allowed for at-home testing to be approved earlier this year. More and more tests have come to market, including the product that just came to market this week. I think it's important to also emphasize how we've had free testing from the beginning, and we continue to improve access there, making it more and more convenient for people to get a free test, and soon to be at 30,000 locations across the country. So we've made significant progress throughout the president's administration. Overall, we're approaching a run rate by December of about 500 million tests per month, about half of which will be the product that didn't exist when the president came into office, which is the popular at-home test. And we'll continue to pull every lever as we have throughout the pandemic response on testing to expand manufacturing and production of tests in order to make tests even more widely available and drive down the cost per test. Next question, please.
Go to Kelly Leon.
How do you fit that many dicks in your mouth?
Side health policy.
Hi, thank you so much for taking my questions. I wanted to ask if any of these at-home tests the White House is planning on investing in, are they all going towards putting more at-home testing on shelves in retail settings? Or will any of these tests be distributed directly to workplaces and schools to test employees and students?
It's a really good question. What the contracts allow for, the purchases, the commitments by the U.S. government, it allows the manufacturers to have the confidence in the demand to scale up their production. So yes, the U.S. government will purchase tests and distribute them to community health centers and food pantries and other places across the country. But what this does on top of that is really expand their production. So there's many more available at-home tests available for consumers, employers if they want to purchase them. So it's an expansion of the industrial base so that more manufacturing occurs based on the U.S.'s commitment to the testing sector. Next question.
Go to Caitlin Collins at CNN.
Thanks so much, and thanks for doing this. 2 questions. One, are you worried that widespread at-home testing is going to affect the public tracking of cases? And are you asking people to report their own positive cases? And secondly, is this basically a guarantee from the government that from now on, inexpensive rapid testing is widely available, given the number still seems pretty low if this is going into the idea of people testing on a regular basis while they're at home?
So Dr. Walensky, do you want to handle the first question on the tracking?
Sure. Thank you, Caitlin, for that question. We continue to track PCRs as well as PCR positivity, and many of these tests allow for the tracking of rapid test positivity, point of care positivity. Some of these tests do so through an app. Many of the people who test through a rapid test will confirm by PCR positivity, so we continue to track those cases, and in some cases we are relying on people to report their positivity.
Yeah, I think it's important, Caitlin, when we talk about 200 million at-home rapid testing, that's just one part of the testing landscape. We also have lab-based PCR tests, as Dr. Walensky just described, free pharmacy testing. That's the 20,000 locations that we're expanding to, plus another 10,000 sites around the country. Schools are doing screening, testing in long-term care facilities, and state testing sites. So overall, by the end of the year, we'll have 500 million tests per month, about half of which are these popular, convenient at-home tests. So the bottom line is there has been and there continues to be enough testing capacity in America. We'll continue to pull every lever to expand manufacturing and production of tests, which will have the impact of driving down the cost per test and making sure the tests are widely available and convenient. Next question, please.
Let's go to Shira Stein at Bloomberg.
Hi, thanks for taking my question. I have 2 questions about the testing announcement. What companies are you purchasing the $1 billion in tests from? And then you mentioned just now that you think that the rise in the number of tests will drive down the cost. $24 a test is still pretty high for most people. Do you have any guarantees from these companies in the contracts? Do you have any other methods that you're planning on taking to make widespread testing cheaper, not just for people who can go to community health centers and food banks?
Yeah, so I do want to emphasize that there are many free testing options, and due to action by the Biden administration, testing is covered by insurance. So there are many ways to have tests without any out-of-pocket expense. I don't want to get ahead of the contracting process, and therefore will not talk about specific companies. I will note that the ACON test that was approved by the FDA, I believe that the plan there is for that to retail for less than $10 per test. Now, what happens is as we get more and more tests approved and manufacturing ramps up, pricing should come down as economies of scale are achieved and competition kicks in. So we do anticipate that this innovation, this increasing capacity will drive down the price per test. Next question, please.
Last question, let's go to Zeke Miller at AP.
Thanks for doing this. On mandates, we have the president's trip tomorrow to Chicago. I was hoping you might be able to offer a little bit of preview to that. And then separately, in Canada today, the government there announced a whole slew of sweeping vaccine mandates, including for domestic air travel as well as train travel. Why has the U.S. still not sort of taken that step yet? Jeff, can you speak to sort of the policy decision for why the White House has not gone that far? Is it a legal one? Is it a policy one? Is it a political question?
So Zeke, on the travel question, you know that the president has taken many steps on vaccination requirements, healthcare workers through the Center for Medicare and Medicaid and requiring vaccination for 17 million healthcare workers, the federal workforce requiring vaccinations, the military under Secretary Austin requiring vaccinations, the OSHA Department of Labor rule, which is coming for employers with more than 100 employees, vaccinated or tested a minimum of once per week. International air travel will require vaccinated people coming from other countries, full vaccinations. So there's been a lot of work. The vaccination requirements cover about 100 million Americans. So I think it's clear that we're taking strong action. The president is to get people vaccinated, and that's what he's going to talk about tomorrow in Chicago. Those actions, the impact that they're having, the fact that vaccination requirements, as Dr. Murthy said, do indeed work. They're good for the economy. They bring people back into the labor force. They bring consumers back to small businesses, and they're supported by the American people, vaccination requirements. And as Dr. Murthy said, they have a long history. We believe that vaccination requirements at workplaces are very effective and an efficient way to ensure people are vaccinated or tested. And we have the data, and we'll highlight that data tomorrow on how effective, as Dr. Murphy said, these vaccination requirements are at driving up vaccination rates. As to travel, domestic travel, we're taking further action, as you know, by doubling the fines for noncompliance of masking on airplanes. We have a track record, and I think it's clear, that shows that we're pulling available levers to require vaccinations, and we're not taking anything off the table. Thank you for today's briefing, and we look forward to seeing everybody soon. Thank you.
All right. More lying and crying like we knew that's how that show always goes. Jen Psaki is going to be on the stage any minute now, so we're not going to shut it down. We're just going to keep rolling forward. Please take a second to share this out. Please subscribe or follow if you're new. Yeah, we're going to see. She was supposed to be on stage 6 minutes ago, so I assume it'll be any minute. Just give me a moment to flip the screen. All right. Well, I've updated the title on YouTube. I can't update it anywhere else without causing everything to go down. I don't know if we're still live on Odyssey or not. On my end, it went down. It said it went down for maintenance, so I don't know what's going on with Odyssey. These people are pulling out all the stops, from trying to persuade you how to deal with the jab as a family, the effects of it towards your kids, comparing it to World War II strategies. These people are crazy. They don't realize no means no. They're trying to rape us with the jab. Out of their minds. You imagine being locked in a room with these people? They're going to fondle your beehole. There's no way around it. These fools are rapists and murderers. I hope Peter's there. Peter cracks me up. You know, he's wearing a mask, but I know he's got the biggest grin on his face when she takes his questions. He riles Psaki up so bad. Cracks me up. I was going to say, Space Pirate, you better not be texting and driving. I know you're about that life, but you shouldn't be. Let's get some shout outs in. Thank you so much, Ted, Judy, and Andrea. I really appreciate the donation and the support. Thank you, guys. Trigger Crazy, I gotta practice. I don't know how to sign all the lies that be falling out of Psaki's mouth. I only know the middle finger sign. That's all I know. It's universal too. It's pretty universal. Ted, if there was 10 people like Peter in the room, Psaki wouldn't step on stage. I'm surprised they let him in the room at all. I'm surprised he's not, connected to a doorknob somewhere already. He must have some connections watching his back. Todd, I actually do have some new beats I've been working on. I have an artist that needs a song worked on. So I've been working on that, and then I've started a couple beats. Hopefully I'll have some added on here soon. What's up, Steven? Who threw you guys are live on Odyssey? Alright, cool. It might just be on my end. I appreciate you, Dawn Break. Or Dawn, rather. I know you don't like me calling you Dawn Break. You're going to have to change your name. You don't want me to call you Dawn Break. Thank you so much, YT Security, for joining the membership program, and welcome to the family. You're officially a hooligan. What's up, Smokey SGT? You saying racial slurs? America, fuck yeah. I cannot hear that Durka stuff without hearing that play through my head. Thank you so much, Judy, for your donation and your support. I really appreciate you. You're awesome. Don, I can't say who the artist is. A lot of times when I'm working on music and stuff, I do it anonymously for their benefit. A lot of times when new artists come out, they'll they're kind of weird about how they go about things. They don't really want to say who the beat came from or who did the mixing and mastering or who's doing the marketing, who's doing the distribution, because they want to give off the perception like they're doing it themselves, which doesn't matter to me. As long as I get paid to do what I do, that's all that matters to me. I mean, I'd like to get the exposure or whatnot, but there's a lot that goes into being an artist. A lot of people think you just make a song and then all of a sudden you're just, setting your sails. That's not how it works at all. It is a uphill climb, directly uphill, and you got to have money in your pocket, and you have to have a strategy. You have to have a marketing strategy, good branding. It's not easy being an artist. Like, not at all. I'm honestly surprised that people even still do it, because you can listen to music for free. People download your stuff for free. You can't hardly perform on stage because of the restrictions, because of the plague. Being an artist is the lowest paying job in the music world. Everyone else makes more than the artist does. If you're a professional artist, like you're on tour and everything, you have managers and distributors and all of that stuff, you only make anywhere between 6% and 15% of your total income. Everyone else makes the rest. So the music industry is super corrupt. When I made my website to help new upcoming artists, it was to fight against that. But the problem is a lot of the community of people that are upcoming artists have a misunderstanding of how it works. And so they think that they can get everything for free, or they're trying to get everything for free. And then they just think they're going to make it and then turn around and pay everyone back. It's a really poor mindset. They think that they can make a song, get a record deal, and then pay back all their resources that they used in order to get their song made, when that's not how it works at all. People need to actually get a job, work at the job, take their money and put it into their music, then do that over and over again until their music makes enough money for them to quit their job. At that point, they're just on the playing field. They haven't made it. They're just now on the field. And artists don't realize that because of the way the music industry sells the idea of being an artist. The perception is if you're talented enough, you will make it. That is not true. That is not true. We understand here on YouTube, and as well as these other platforms, the algorithm really affects your success rate. And the music industry was the first one to, well, it's probably not the first one, but they were doing it way before the algorithm was around. It's a corrupt system. The music industry is really corrupt. Thank you so much, Turd Ferguson, for joining the membership program, and welcome to the family. You're officially a hooligan. Thank you so much, Debbie, for your donation and your support. I really appreciate you. Thank you for being here. What's up, Sage Pup? Hopefully Psaki doesn't push it back too far. She's already late, and I'm sure it had to do with the C19 briefing, but you never know with Psaki. Miami Red Zone, yeah. Florida, Nashville, Texas, California, Vegas, New York, some of Detroit, some of Chicago. Those kind of places are really good for music. Music thrives there. But if you're not in those locations, your only resource is to either move or use the internet. And you can use the internet. It's just the perception is messed up. They're selling a dream. And it's corrupt. Most of the people you work with, they're not who they appear. I've worked with Lazy Bone from Bone Thugs and Harmony. And, at first it seems really great until you realize how much money you have to spend. And then you see the way that they do business and the way they've been doing business for years. And I'm not saying anything bad about Bone Thugs and Harmony or anything like that. But you see what they have to go through in order to be successful. And then you start questioning if it's really worth it. Because in return, unless you really are networking and really getting connected to people, you might actually make more work in a factory job than you would as an artist. And some people may say, well, at least you're an artist and not working in a factory job. But the way that you get exploited as an artist doesn't make you feel good about yourself. At least when you work at a factory job, you already know you're an asshole. So when people tell you you're an asshole, you're like, that's great. But when you're a public figure and people perceive you a certain way and it gets out of hand, it makes it to where you lock yourself in a room and don't want to go outside and stuff like that. It's not good. The music industry is super corrupt. Musket Merv. No, I've not seen the new Ted Nugent clip about the jab. A lot of people keep telling me to check out Ted Nugent. I should probably do that. Yeah, Smokey SGT. I bet Jen Psaki hates herself. I almost guarantee it. I bet she hates herself. All she does is sit there and lie. Does not provide any real information. Good luck to you, Hydrodynamic. It's a interesting goal. Good luck to you. Android 9. ICP has a very genuine following and stuff, but they have a hell of a time trying to do shows and stuff like that. They had to relocate the gathering because people wouldn't insure them because they got put on the FBI terrorist list. They're a really good example of independent success, but it's their road is rough. It's rough. I know a lot of people don't like ICP and stuff, but the way that they came up and became who they are and even how they exist today is amazing. It's amazing to really display that hard work does pay off in a sense. Trigger Crazy, you're a bigot. Oh no, they just cut the live feed. Jen Psaki, you suck. She heard us talking crap and she was like, nope, can't do it. I can't do it today. Jen Psaki, you suck. Miss Jamie, that's hilarious. Yeah, who threw? Yeah, Odyssey's under maintenance, so they're doing some funny stuff, but I'm sure it's for the better. All right, let me see if I can figure out what's going on. Jen Psaki, I'm telling you, she was scared. She was scared. She's like, they're going to put my high school picture up there and they're going to be talking bad about me. Then Peter's going to show up and roast me in person. She got scared. All right, just a moment. Let's figure some things out. Thank you so much, Connie. I really appreciate the donation and the support. Thank you for being here. Weird. They just made the live stream unlisted. This live that's on the screen, you're not able to find it anymore unless you have the direct link. These people run the country. Like, can you believe that? Oh man, Hitler, Walter, Biden, whatever you want to call him, he gets cut off mid-sentence. He's supposedly a head asshole in charge. And Jen Psaki doesn't even show up, and then they hide the feed. Just... Now let me be clear. Those fucking assholes. Alright, let me see what's going on. Just give me a moment. All right. Well, they took her right off the schedule. She's not even on the listing anymore. Not sure what that means. I'm sure it's nothing too special. You see Mr. Fauci, the demon himself, angel of death, still tells us what to do, even though we know it's all his fault that we're going through this. But it is what it is. That's what happens when you're top of the food chain. There's no one to take you down. Who's going to make the arrest? No one. They're the top of the food chain. Old bastards. All right. Well, we're not going to do the Pledge of Allegiance. We did it on the first live. Hopefully all of you seen that. I see a lot of hate afterwards. If we do the second, third, fourth live of the day, people get really mad that we didn't do the Pledge of Allegiance, but we do it at the very first live, so you got to make sure you make it to the first live. All right, so we're going to wrap this up, I guess. There is nothing else coming out of the White House today, but that doesn't mean that we're not going to see more action going on. Things have been more active lately. I think it's to take attention away from the border and stuff like that. You notice no one talks about the border anymore. It was just last week, it was a crisis, and now, hey, look over here. Don't worry about the border. It's all good. They're racist. Horses are racist. They ain't talking about that no more. Out of sight, out of mind. Anyways, thank you guys so much for being here. I really appreciate all of you. Please make sure that you subscribe or follow on whatever platform you are currently watching right now. We go live every single day, sometimes more than once a day. So please get connected to the platform. It also helps my channel potentially grow, bring new viewers in to see what's happening around the world. So please follow or subscribe. Also, join the Discord. The Discord is awesome. Do not be intimidated by the Discord. I know a lot of people are. It's hard for me to see it that way because I've been a part of it so long, but it is well worth it. If you join the Discord, you will always be notified for when and where we go live, no matter what time it is, no matter how many people are in it. There is no algorithm. You will be notified. So if you're one of those people who always miss the live or you don't get the notification till 2 years later and all that stuff, you need to join the Discord. I don't have any other answers for you. That is the solution. The Discord is free. You can access it from a computer. I never do, so I don't have a whole lot of instruction on that. But you can download it on your phone. You can come to any of my lives or find the Linktree link. Find the link for the Discord. Follow the few simple steps. You'll be greeted with an automated message letting you know that you've done all you need to do in order to receive notifications for when and where we go live. Also, there is awesome conversation going on 24 hours a day. It's been super hilarious in there the last few days. So if you want to chat it up with other hooligans and like-minded individuals, definitely join the Discord for that. If anything else, we have a news board that is just packed full of news. Probably more news that you could read in a day just for that day itself. We get links to articles and documents and images and screen recordings and footage and all kinds of stuff. All media versions of news is in the news tab, is the best way to stay well informed about what's going on around you. So please join the Discord. Big shout out to everyone that made donations, joined the membership program, or purchased any merch. You guys are so awesome. I would not be able to do this without you. You guys are what's keeping the show going. So big shout out to all of you. Big shout out to CAD Audio. We are endorsed by CAD Audio. They're in no way affiliated with anything political at all. They just make great professional audio equipment. So if you mess with audio, you're an audio creator, or maybe you run a studio or you run a stage or a venue, please check out CAD Audio. Their link is in the bottom of the description. Big shout out to them because they're awesome. They sent me this microphone. This is a M179 cardioid microphone. It is very customizable. It has all kinds of buttons and stuff like that. It's perfect for all audio needs. So definitely check out CAD Audio. All right, hooligans, I'm going to wrap this up. Hopefully I will see you guys later. Not sure what's all going on. If I don't see you later, I will definitely see you tomorrow for more lying and crying out of the White House. Thank you guys for being here. You guys are super awesome. I will see you on the next live. And until then, stand tall, shine bright, and that's a wrap. Yo, they're about to go live. They rescheduled it for 4 o'clock. All of you guys probably left already. It is what it is. We're going to keep it rolling. They will do anything to try and throw me off. Nah, I'm with it. We'll see. We'll give a couple more minutes. They better go live. All right, share this out. We're going to have to pull all the hooligans back. right. I just sent out some notifications. We'll see if we can fill this back up. Jim Balzac, you better step on stage now. You ain't jerking us around. We're going to roast you hard. What's up, Sapphire? Thanks for being here. I'm doing good. How are you? Thanks, Indigo. I appreciate you. If you guys have not hit the like button, please hit the like button. That helps tell the algorithm to bring new viewers into the chat to come hang out with us and see what's going on. What's up, Steven? That's interesting who threw. Indigo, I still have to set up the Nightbot Discord command thing. I have it set up for YouTube, but apparently I have to log out and log back in with Twitch in order to change the settings for Twitch, and I can't do that while I'm live. I'll try and remember to get that fixed. But you're welcome to post the Linktree link. It should be in the description. It's basically linktr.ee/thegreatjeffmac. Kimberly says she's waiting for the Valium to kick in. That's hilarious. What's up, One Vigilant Patriot? Thanks for being here. What's up, Patricia? Trigger crazy. Honestly, not that many. Not that many of your comments get flagged. It depends what's going on. Sometimes there's more flag comments than not flag comments, and I have to sit here and click them to get them to pass through. Oh yeah, Edward, why do you say that? Oh my goodness. I appreciate you, Bones Mama. Thanks, Indigo. You're awesome. Well, on her schedule, the newly listed schedule, it's supposed to start at 4, which is 6 minutes ago. How you can be a half hour late, get taken off the schedule, get put back on the schedule, and then be 6 minutes late? I would never hire any of these people that run any of this stuff. No way. They are terrible. Serum, I do have to click all of yours, and I actually had to pass that one through. That one itself got flagged. I'm not sure if it's just keywords or if it's also related to your guys' accounts for things you guys say either here or on other chats, maybe what you post. I am not sure. It seems like some people get flagged more than others, regardless of what's being said. Yeah, Steven, that's why I try and push everyone to the Discord, is because people don't realize the resources it has. If you're a part of the Discord, it's almost like we're never not live. Like, we're always together. We're always informed. And yeah, like when I sent out the notification in Discord. 3,600 people should have received it. Although you see we have less than 300 in the chat. Not sure exactly what that's about. I think some people get into the Discord and then remove the Discord app from their phone, or they no longer participate. I'm not sure exactly what goes on there, but it's really hard for me to filter out people in the Discord because I don't know who's using it for a notification and who's just abandoned it completely. So it's really hard to tell, but it's a great resource. I wish more people would join. Thank you so much, Willies, for being here. That's a good idea. Yeah, Wolf Mule, if these people were applying for a job anywhere else, they would not be hired. No. All they know how to do is stand there and lie. What good is that? That's a job only for the White House, apparently. Yeah, Emo B, I think so. I think Jen Psaki, she sits here in the chat with us and gets mad. Sitting there with Hunter Biden. Smelling like feet and crack. Stupid. Stuff is stupid. Those rusty people at the White House. Come on, Jen Psaki, you're late. If they shut the live down, we're gonna call it. Miss Jamie, you'd never know. You'd never know if she was in the chat. The internet's a weird place, and I think people have like kind of a false sense of security being here. So like just here in YouTube, it says there's 256 people here longer than a certain period of time. There's 284 total, meaning some of these people are coming and going. But out of all those people, only 16 are participating in the chat. So out of 256, only 16 people are participating in the chat. The other 240 viewers are just watching and reading your comments and not actually participating. Now imagine the Discord. We got 3,600 people connected, but only like 30 actually talk. The other 3,540 people are just watching and screenshotting and screen recording and viewing what's happening. You never know. You never know who's watching. It's very strange. The internet is a strange place. Liberty Sweetheart, the Washington Post already has a camera on the press room. All right, I'll check it out. I used to use that stuff, but then the audio was terrible. So I started just using the White House's direct live stream, but we'll check it out because I want to know if Peter's there. So this is the live stream from the National Desk, and I believe that's Peter at front row right there. Thank you so much, Wolf Mule, for your donation and your support. You're awesome. John Costello, I think you're right. They probably have me up on a big projector, getting mad, finger blasting each other and lying to each other. Just disgusting individuals. What's up, Noel?
Hi, everyone. Hey.
Holy crap, this is blurry as hell. All right, I'm going to switch it over.
I'm sorry to disappoint. Okay. Sorry to disappoint. You never know who's behind the door. Okay. Tomorrow, just one item for all of you at the top. Tomorrow, the president will travel to Elk Grove Village, Illinois, a trip he had planned to do last week to meet with public and private sector leaders who have implemented vaccination requirements. The president will visit with a company local to the Chicago area that is imposing its own vaccine requirement ahead of the OSHA rule. The president's message will be clear. Vaccination requirements work. Vaccination requirements get more people vaccinated, helping to end the pandemic and strengthen the economy. That's why he's leading and implementing vaccination requirements for 100 million workers, 2/3 of all workers in the United States. And that's why we're seeing growing momentum for vaccination requirements across the sectors and across the country. Alex, go ahead.
I didn't switch it because the other one's late, a lot later than this.
There's so many developing. So off the top, Senator Mitch McConnell has proposed for Republicans to either support a short-term hike in the debt limit through December, or to support a expedited reconciliation process where Democrats would vote to hike it long-term. What's the White House response to that? Is there support for either of those from the president? And then, so I'm going to get clarification on something the president said yesterday. He seemed to suggest that he would support a carve-out in the filibuster if all else fails to hike the debt limit. Is that where he stands? Would he be open to that?
Well, right now, and perhaps this is the awkwardness of 4:15 while people are still meeting on the Hill, right now Democratic members are meeting on the Hill to discuss options on the path forward. I think Republican members may also be meeting or discussing among themselves. My understanding at the point I walked out here is that there's been no formal offer made. A press release is not a formal offer. And regardless, even the scant details that have been reported present more complicated, more difficult options than the one that is quite obvious in the president's view and is in front of the faces of every member up on the Hill. We could get this done today. We don't need to kick the can. We don't need to go through a cumbersome process that every day brings additional risks. So they're discussing up there. We'll obviously be in close touch with them, as we will continue to be, and we'll see where we are at the end of today.
And then one foreign policy question. Does the White House have a position yet on the Uyghur Forced Labor Prevention Act, which passed unanimously in the Senate? And just broadly in that same context, how do you respond to the criticism from Senator Rubio and some Republicans that the administration is sort of letting Beijing have some advantage on human rights abuses to try to win over their cooperation on climate issues?
Well, we would absolutely dispute that notion. Unlike the former president, this president has spoken out against human rights abuses, has raised his concerns about human rights abuses directly with President Xi, and we have done that at every level from our national security team. In terms of the legislation, obviously we have spoken out about our concerns of human rights abuses in Xinjiang, and I would also note that the president also led an effort to have coordination on the international stage to address this issue, unlike his predecessors. But I'd have to talk to our legislative team about specific views on the piece of legislation. I know I spoke to it briefly last week, but I'll come back to you with that. Go ahead, Steve.
Jake Sullivan reached a deal with the Chinese today for President Biden and President Xi to have a virtual summit before the end of the year. Do you see this happening around the G20 summit? And what's the advantage of them seeing each other face to face?
Well, as I understand it, what came out of the discussions was an agreement to continue dialogue at a very high level. So what we've said, of course, and we continue to believe, is that leader-level engagement is an important part of our effort to responsibly manage the competition with China, especially given the coalescing of power in Chinese leadership. We're still working through what that would look like, when, and of course the final details, so we don't quite have them yet.
Secondly, the president indicated last night that he had spoken to President Xi about Taiwan. Was this in their more recent phone call, and what exactly did he tell him?
So just, you didn't ask this, but some others have asked this. He did not have a new call that you're not aware of. So just for full clarity on that, he has spoken with him twice, as you know, and certainly reiterating our position as it relates to, which is guided by the Taiwan Relations Act, and our view that we need to uphold that commitment, our commitment under the act. That is what the president reiterated to President Xi last time he talked, and is something that is raised nearly every time he speaks at a leader level and at other levels as well.
Last thing, and sorry to prolong, but the Energy Secretary Granholm in a conference today did not rule out a ban on crude oil exports to keep U.S. energy prices down. Is that something that's seriously being looked at?
I would defer to the Energy Secretary, but I don't have anything new to report on that from internally in the White House. Go ahead.
Hey, Jen. So I understand that you're obviously waiting for more details of this proposal from the Senate Minority Leader, but would the president accept a short-term deal to raise the debt ceiling while you try and find a broader path out of this crisis?
Well, as I said a few minutes ago, we don't need to kick the can. We don't need to go through a cumbersome process that every day brings additional risks. And you heard many of the business leaders convey that. Even as we look to risk tomorrow, the next day, as the American people are looking at their retirement counts, worrying about their Social Security savings, members of the military worrying about their payments. We don't need to incur that risk uncertainty. And I think it's important to also remember we're at this point because Republicans in Congress treated the savings accounts and retirement savings of the American people, Social Security checks of retirees and veterans benefits, like a game of Monopoly, putting the stability and security of the American people at risk. We're at this point because Republicans in Congress blocked efforts by Democrats to raise the debt limit and protect the full faith and credit of the United States, despite having voted for it 3 times during the Trump administration. So obviously, as has been reported, the vote has been delayed. There's still an opportunity for Republicans to join us in being adults in the room and ensure that people have confidence in the economic security and their own retirement savings.
The Minority Leader's proposal, though, seems to go at one of the key arguments that the president was making yesterday about why he's opposed to using budget reconciliation, which is that it would take time, it's cumbersome, it could lead to unexpected scenarios. So is the Minority Leader taking off your arguments against reconciliation by offering this 1-month extension? And if not, then what are your remaining objections? Is it simply that you don't want Democrats to take a vote that would put a specific dollar amount?
Democrats are very willing to be the adults in the room and take a vote to raise the debt limit. They're not even asking Republicans to do that anymore, since they've clearly shown their refusal to do exactly that. The point I'm making is that there is a very clear the least risky option here that can ensure that there is confidence from the American people about their own checking accounts or about their own retirement savings. That's something Republicans still have the opportunity to participate in and be a part of.
And just on Afghanistan, if I could, the ISIS-K suicide bomber who carried out the attack that resulted in the deaths of 13 U.S. service members and dozens more Afghans had been released from the Parwan prison at Bagram Air Base just days before that attack took place when the Taliban took control of that base. Should the Biden administration have done more to secure Bagram or transfer ISIS-K prisoners outside of that? And do you now accept that this attack would not have happened had the United States retained control of Bagram?
Well, I can't speak to the specific case. I'd leave it to the intelligence community to speak to that. So I'd point you to them. I'd remind you that as it relates to Bagram, there was a decision made to close Bagram because it wasn't strategically in the interests of the United States and our national security to keep it open with 5,000 troops there protecting Bagram at a distance that was far away from the capital and far away from where people from the embassy would be evacuated. So that was the broad-based decision. I understand you're asking me a different question than that, but I just wanted to reiterate.
Made the same decision had he known that it would result
Again,
in...
I can't speak to this particular report. I point you to the intelligence community. Go ahead.
Thanks, Jen. Congress has passed countless short-term government funding measures. They have funded the government for 48 hours before. Wouldn't a short-term debt ceiling hike be preferable to default?
The preference would be just getting this done today so we can move on to more business for the American people, and that option is still on the table.
But the White House brought in all of these banking CEOs today to talk about how catastrophic it would be if the U.S. were to default. Why not send the markets that assurance, if you have the opportunity, that at least for the next 8 weeks, the debt ceiling is going to be secure?
Well, if we're looking at the best options, why kick the can down the road a couple of more weeks? Why create an additional layer of uncertainty? Why not just get it done now? That's what we're continuing to press for, and that's our first choice. Go ahead.
Thanks, Jen. A week ago, the National School Boards Association wrote to the president to say that their teachers feel like some parents protesting recently could be the equivalent to a form of domestic terrorism. And then the Attorney General put the FBI on the case. So does the administration agree that parents upset about their kids' curriculums could be considered domestic terrorists?
Well,
Get her, Peter.
This a little bit because the National School Board Association is not a part of the U.S. government. I'd point you to them. What the Department of Justice said in a letter from the Attorney General is that, quote, threats against public servants are not only illegal, they run counter to our nation's core values. That is true. These were threats against public servants, threats against members of the school board. Regardless of the reasoning, threats and violence against public servants is illegal. That's what he was conveying from the Department of Justice.
But the Department of Justice does now have the FBI on this. Something that the School Boards Association is asking for is for the administration to consider using the Patriot Act to investigate some of these school board protesters. So would the administration be okay with the FBI using the Patriot Act to surveil these parents if that is what they decide?
I don't speak on behalf of the National School Board Association. I speak on behalf of this government. The Attorney General has put out a letter. They will take actions they take, and I would point to them for more information.
And something that you said on Monday after some protesters were hounding Kirsten Sinema into a restroom, you said the president stands for the fundamental right of people to protest, to object, and to criticize. So does the president support the fundamental right of these parents to protest at school board meetings?
Of course, but he doesn't stand for the fundamental right. I assume you don't either, for people to take violent action against members of public servants. And that's what the threats are about. And so no, he doesn't stand for that. No one should.
John Kerry says that after France was cut out of the nuclear submarine deal and they were upset enough about being left in the dark that they pulled their ambassador, he went to the president and, quote, the president literally had not been aware of what had transpired. So what else are you guys not telling the president?
Of course, he was aware of the French being upset. Let me finish. Let me finish. I know John Kerry quite well. He, of course, was aware, the president, of the French being displeased about the deal with the Australians. John Kerry also speaks regularly to the French as a part of his role as the climate envoy. He's someone who also served as Secretary of State. He's someone I alone traveled to France with him 25 times. He, of course, conveyed to the president what his read was of what they were specifically unhappy about and how to help address it.
You said this president's first love is foreign policy. So why doesn't he know about these things in real time?
Of course he knew about the French being displeased. Let me finish.
Literally had not been aware.
Peter, I would encourage you to ask John Kerry specifically about the context of his comments. The president and the former secretary are also good friends. He relies on his counsel, and as he does with many members of his national security team, but that certainly is not what he was intending to convey. Go ahead.
Let me ask you quickly. Yesterday, the president said that he would be speaking with Mitch McConnell as it related to the debt limit. Has that conversation happened, and what did he tell him?
They have not spoken. I think what the president has repeatedly conveyed is that he's certainly open to, as he has shown throughout the course of his presidency, having conversations with Democrats and Republicans when he feels it would be constructive.
He said they will be speaking. So he was saying they will at some point.
At some point, if it's constructive in moving things forward.
Okay. Does the president trust Mitch McConnell to be an honest broker in this process?
I don't think this is about trust. This is about, he has known him a long time, but this is about whether you're going to be a leader and take steps that are not based on political calculations and more based on what's in the interest of the United States and the full faith and credit of the United States.
The president discussed that there was a possibility of a filibuster, a carve-out, as it related to the debt ceiling. If that were the case, would the president be open to a filibuster carve-out for voting rights? Where does that line get drawn for the president?
The president was just simply conveying that there are a range of options that leaders on the Hill are discussing. I think you all have reported that, or your colleagues on the Hill have. Nothing more than that. We'll be in touch with them and we'll see what the next best options look like. But what is very clear is that there is an easy, risk-free option here that Republicans could allow Democrats to vote to raise the debt ceiling. We could be done with this today.
Can I just follow very quick? Why wouldn't the president, given that relationship he has with Mitch McConnell, just call Mitch McConnell and have this conversation with him? Why do this through public
What's the
events?
conversation about?
I don't know. They have the relationship. He's the one who said he could bring the two sides together. So wouldn't there be some value in having that conversation?
We know what the risk-free option is here. We know what the clear path forward is here. And I think the president has made no secret about his belief on that. Go ahead.
Has the president had time to absorb the criticism of the Fed chairman? And then specifically, what does the White House believe should happen, Fed policy about investments made by top officials there?
Well, we obviously leave the independence of the Fed to an independent Fed, Federal Reserve, and I'm not going to speak to that from here. The president's confident in the chairman of the Federal Reserve, and beyond that, I don't have any personal announcements for you.
Given that confidence, and also given what you just said, I mean, how close is he to making a decision on that?
I don't have anything to preview for you at this point.
Yesterday, the president said he would sign a reconciliation bill that included the Hyde Amendment. You told us earlier this week that he remains opposed to that. So is he backtracking on a campaign promise, something that's a lot of his supporters believe strongly in?
Well, the president's position hasn't changed. The context of his comments were that there's still a negotiation happening. There's a range of views. His view remains what is reflected in his budget, which is that getting rid of, which he released in May, which shows that getting rid of the Hyde Amendment was a priority. That remains his position. This is a package that's still being negotiated, and he said that much last night as well. Go ahead.
Just confirming what you told Peter, the president, when he signaled yesterday that it's possible that the Senate could change its rules, that we should not read that as him expressing support for that notion?
The president was simply reporting out what you already have reported out, which is that there are a range of options being discussed on Capitol Hill.
I want to ask you separately. The ambassador designate to India was seen reportedly at an event in Los Angeles last week, an art gallery event that featured the artwork of the president's son Hunter. The ethicists who have pointed to this arrangement have expressed concern that the president's son selling art could potentially put the president in a situation where those who seek jobs either in this administration or favors from this administration and could put this White House in an awkward position. First of all, what is the White House's response to the fact that an ambassador nominee was at this event? And secondly, should we expect to see more people who seek jobs in this administration attending events like this in the future?
Well, to be clear, we've spoken to the arrangement that is run by the gallerist and Hunter Biden's representatives that the White House provided suggestions for. I'd refer you to the gallerist for questions about the event and as well as the representatives of Mr. Garcetti in terms of his attendance.
Okay. Just to follow up, this is exactly what ethicists said they were worried about.
What is specifically?
The fact that the president's
That he
son...
reportedly attended an event?
Well, the president's son would be selling artwork and then meeting potentially with people who would seek to buy it. If you have attendees at that event who might be seeking either jobs in this administration or favors from this administration, isn't it an awkward situation to put the president in?
Again, the gallerist has we've spoken to the specifics, what the gallerist has agreed to, and what recommendations were made. I've done that several times. I don't have additional details for it from here. I point you to them. Go ahead.
So does this White House not have any concerns about the photos that have emerged showing Hunter Biden at that gallery alongside prospective buyers?
I point you to the gallerist on specifics of the restrictions that were put in place.
Great, but what about the position of this White House? This is a president who ran on being transparent, and you've got...
And we were very transparent about what recommendations were made to the gallerist, and I would again point to them or the many times I've spoken about that from here.
You lower your voice, trash bag.
The president's position on doing away with the filibuster changed?
Nothing has, no, it has not changed. Go ahead.
Thanks, Jen. The administration reportedly will invest $1 billion into making
rapid testing COVID kits available. But there are concerns that the tests will be too expensive. I think a lot of Americans are wondering, is there a universe where these available tests will be free or affordable or at least less expensive than $25 a pop?
Yeah, so there's no question, to your point, that there has been a huge increase in an interest in testing and getting tests and making them, and people going out and being able to get them easily. We announced a $2 billion investment in September. So right now we're on track to double the number of rapid at-home tests on the market by early November. And we're also now on track to triple the number of rapid at-home tests on the market by and thanks to the approval of ACON, this Monday, which accelerates the pace, we're now on track to triple the number, not double, I apologize. So right now, with these investments, we'll be at 200 million tests per month starting in December, with tens of millions more coming on the market in coming weeks. And we're also working to ensure that these tests, in addition to making them more available, so you could go to CVS or Walmart or wherever to get them, we've been working hard to make sure they are accessible and available in pharmacies, in community centers, in schools. So we're also working to do that simultaneously and separate from that. We recognize there's a need. We recognize we needed to do more. And we are pleased by the fact that we are now on track to not only triple by November, but also quadruple by December.
There was a school shooting in Texas today. The school safety group Everytown says that this year has been the most dangerous back-to-school period for students since they began tracking the data in 2013. That's some 30 instances of gunfire on school grounds since August 1st, and today's shooting means that number is out of date. Is the administration discussing ways that schools can keep children safe from school?
We knew this was coming.
Absolutely. I mean, I would say the president has been an advocate for doing more for gun safety measures through the course of his career. Not only did he fight to get the Brady bill passed, he fought for the assault weapons ban. It remains a cause of his public life in office. We, of course, are frustrated by the inability to get common sense gun reforms through Congress. We should be able to get universal background checks approved. They're supported by the vast majority of the public, as are assault weapons bans. But in addition to that, we also have taken a number of steps, both by working through the Department of Justice to increase our strike force teams that are going out to specific communities and cities to help address violence. A lot of that is driven by gun violence. That's something that we've been implementing from there. And of course, our Department of Education is engaged in this effort as well.
Go ahead.
Thanks, Jen. Yesterday's hearing by a Facebook whistleblower underscored several major issues with the company, including, as many senators pointed out, issues with Section 230. On the campaign trail, Biden said that Section 230 should, quote, immediately be revoked, and that it should be revoked because, quote, Facebook is not just an internet company, it is propagating falsehoods they know to be false. Does the White House stand by that assessment of Section 230 given the regulations?
Well, the president has long said, as you referenced, that tech platforms must be held accountable for the harms that they cause. And he has been a strong supporter of fundamental reforms to achieve that goal. This includes Section 230 reforms. It also includes privacy and antitrust reforms, as well as more transparency that should also be on the table. And he looks forward to working with Congress on these bipartisan issues. He's also called, I would note, because there were a range of issues that were raised during the whistleblower's testimony yesterday, on the FTC to adopt rules to address unfair data collection and surveillance practices in his executive order on promoting competition in the American economy. So yes, more needs to be done. Reform should happen. We also need to do more on privacy and antitrust, and certainly watching testimony yesterday raised a lot of those issues again for people. Go ahead.
Thanks, Jen. Does the president have any intention of speaking with Senators Manchin or Sinema at all this week?
I can't predict for you day by day. We have been in touch with Senator Manchin and Sinema at a senior staff level, and certainly I wouldn't rule it out.
I wanted to ask a follow-up question on an earlier question about the Hyde Amendment. The president has not been shy about his opposition in recent years to the Hyde Amendment. As you mentioned, he made that clear in his budget blueprint. He made that clear as a candidate when he was running for president. So can you explain why it is he's saying that he would sign this bill either way, with or without this language?
He's reflecting that it's a negotiation. It's ongoing. We don't know what the final product will look like. Go ahead.
Can I ask a little bit about energy prices? Gas prices in the U.S. are fairly high. We're seeing exceptionally high prices of certain energy products in Europe right now. Is the U.S. domestically considering a release from the SPR to bring down oil prices at this time?
I'm not going to make any prediction of that from here. I would note that we have seen, as you said, some ticks up in parts of the country also as a follow-up to Hurricane Ida, because the hurricane hit a region that is a key center of the nation's oil production and refining infrastructure. So that's something we've been working to focus on, and we took actions in the days and weeks following to help address that, including at the time authorizing several million barrels of the Strategic Petroleum Reserve exchanges. We've also taken steps, including engaging with members of OPEC. We've also taken steps to reach out to the FTC to ensure they are using every available tool to monitor the U.S. gasoline market and address any illegal conduct, but I'm not going to make any other predictions at this point in time. We're continuously monitoring. We'll look to take additional steps as needed.
Are you or would you consider restricting LNG exports to, I guess, head off the type of shortages and price spikes that we're seeing in Europe and parts of Europe?
I'm just not going to make any additional policy predictions at this point in time.
Broadly say, overall, these are fundamentally price crunches on, non-renewable sources of fuel. We're heading into COP's summit here.
Yeah.
Do you worry that this could impact the pledges that countries are willing to make? Will other governments get weak-kneed about going green at a time when they're facing brewing sort of political crises at home over really skyrocketing prices of non-renewable fuel sources?
We certainly hope not. I mean, I think what COP26 is about is to continue the conversation on the international stage at the leader level. That has been going on below the leader level continuously, basically, about our need to work together to address the climate crisis. One of the greatest national security crises the president sees. A number of other world leaders agree on that front. Certainly, we all want to keep gasoline prices low, but the threat of the crisis, the climate crisis, certainly can't wait any longer. Go ahead.
Yes, go ahead.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, thanks very much. On the, you sound pretty lukewarm about the McConnell idea. If the Democratic caucus were to get behind it, is it a given that the president will get on board? Or?
We'll see where things are. This is an ever-moving news cycle.
Because as we speak, there seems to be some positive vibes there regarding this, whereas you're giving, the opposite.
I would say, actually, in my read of it, there's a diversity of views in the Democratic caucus, as is to be expected. And they're meeting now. We'll be in close touch with them, so I just don't want to get ahead of that process.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
I know we're still a few weeks away from the G20, but I wanted to see if the president would be open to meeting with Putin again at the G20. And does he feel like his last meeting with Putin was effective? Does the president feel like he's seen any change in Russia or Putin's behavior since then?
Well, I don't have any predictions for you on the bilateral meetings. That's something that we're still working through at this point in time. Every day. And in terms of how constructive his meeting was with President Putin, as he said at the time, we didn't expect it to be a light switch where all of a sudden everything would be hunky-dory in the relationship. It's not. We have remaining concerns, but it was an opportunity to express them at a high level, see what work could be done over the course of the long term to address it. So I don't know that we're going to do a month-by-month assessment. It's something that we have continued conversations with members of the National Security team about many of the issues were raised. Those are ongoing. We're continuing to strive to make progress.
Do you have any update on Afghanistan and how many Americans are still there? And does the president feel the Taliban's cooperating still with efforts to get those remaining Americans out?
We remain, through appropriate channels, of course, in touch with Taliban officials. In terms of the specific numbers, I'd point you to the State Department, and they have the most updated number on that, given they oversee that process. Go ahead.
Jen, there's been some reporting that Senate Democrats are planning to accept the short-term debt remainders. So given that we now have some reporting on that, can you just give us some guidance on what the White House thinks about that idea?
Not yet. I have to dig further into that reporting, not to question it, and talk to the team here about where things stand. And as far as when I came out here, they were still meeting. But we'll venture to get back to you as soon as we have something more concrete to convey.
Thanks, Jen. When the president was talking today about Republicans and the debt ceiling, he said, if they don't want to do the job, just get out of the way. We'll take the heat. We'll do it. When he says we'll take the heat, what did he mean by that? What political risk is he acknowledging there for Democrats?
Well, I think one of the reasons we're at this point is because Republicans in Congress would rather bet on a misleading and inaccurate campaign season talking point. We're not betting that that's going to work, but his point, the president's point is, regardless, we're willing, Democrats are willing to vote alone without any Republican votes to raise the debt ceiling. You just need to allow us to proceed with that vote.
And on the testing question that had come up with the rapid test, this $1 billion investment will quadruple the test by December, in addition to everything else from the past couple of weeks. But why has it taken so long to get this rapid testing to this point where it will be by December, when Europe is flooded with rapid tests? Is it the authorization process and the timeline on that, or is it on the production side, or both?
Well, one of the things we've been working on is to increase production, as you know, and also increase, I would say that the demand for these tests here has increased a lot in the last several weeks. So we're also working to meet that and ensure that we are meeting the moment here in the United States. In terms of the specific mechanics, I would encourage you to ask the COVID team that question.
Missing the moment though by, the demand has gone up in recent weeks because kids have gone back to school. Should this have been ready for back to school so that you could go to a CVS or any of the pharmacies or government sites and get these tests?
I mean, again, we just announced last month enormous investment. We're quadrupling availability by December, tripling by November. I think that is speaking to how seriously we take this and how we're working to ensure there are accessible, cost-effective tests out there and available to the public. Go ahead.
What plans does the White House have to address the risk of oil spills from existing platforms, existing leases that are still operating?
You mean like the one that happened in California? Right. I would really point you to the Department of Energy for specifics there.
The White House has policies on stopping future leases, possibly things like that. But this is an ongoing threat, that happens as offshore drilling continues. Is there an interest in investing in the infrastructure of the pipeline to enhance their safety, shutting them down? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, again, I think as we've seen, and there's been an ongoing investigation about what exactly was the root cause here, so I don't want to kind of speak to that as that's been ongoing, but beyond that, I would point you to the Department of Energy.
Two very quick things on the spill. Does the White House have a working theory on what caused the spill? And secondly, you have an update on federal resources that have been dispatched to respond to the spill.
Sure, I think I do have an update on federal resources. Let me see. On the leak, just so I don't forget to answer this part, it's still under investigation. As you may know, the oil has stopped leaking. The pipeline has been removed from service. In terms of our government efforts, 4,788 gallons of oil have been recovered and 11,360 feet of containment boom have been deployed. As of yesterday, 6 miles of shoreline have been cleaned, 328 response personnel with additional assets are on the way, have been deployed. As we said earlier this week, the Department of Transportation's Pipeline and Hazardous Materials Safety Administration investigators are on the ground in the Unified Incident Command Center. And on Monday, we also issued a corrective action order to the operator mandating immediate corrective action, including performing a root cause failure analysis, integrity assessment, and remedial work plan. Beyond that, Unified Command, of course, who are on the ground, would have any additional steps we're taking that are up to date. Go ahead, April.
Jen, we see there are crisis moments. Everything is in crisis mode here. But there are other issues that are percolating as well that some feel are at crisis levels. Black agenda issues. The Vice President just had the heads of Divine Mind in a meeting. Frank, good, direct discussion, we were told, about issues, particularly voting rights. What is the President expecting when it comes to dealing with the Black agenda, particularly with those that have the small window like voting rights and also the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act? What is he expected to do? What is he planning on committing to make sure these things happen?
He wants to get both done. He wants to sign them into law. As you know, and you've told me in the past, the Black agenda is bigger than voting rights and bigger than the George Floyd Police and Justice Act. Both are hugely important. The President has committed to getting them both done. He wants to sign them into law. We need Congress to move forward on both to get that done.
The Black agenda is huge, it's vast, but in this moment, there's a small window of time before elections happen. And the concern is that this President is not doing enough. He has not armed the Vice President or helped her to be able to fight the fight for these things.
I would say the Vice President is more than capable of fighting the fight in the lead on this particular issue and any issue.
So how is he
the Vice President of the United States? Pretty powerful.
Right, but if the president, the argument is if the president is not supporting her with the tools that she needs.
Which tools is he not providing to her?
Filibuster for voting rights, and that's in her portfolio. You have one of her friends and a Democrat, a strategist, Bakari Sellers, who says her portfolio is trash because he's not supporting her in the way that she needs to be supported for this to pass. So what do you say? Can he, will he, shall he push for the filibuster for voting rights even as he's doing it, thinking about it for the debt ceiling?
Well, that's not exactly what I conveyed earlier, but I will say that the president has conveyed many times that getting voting rights done, signing it into law, is top of his agenda. The vice president, one of the most powerful people in the world, is leading this effort. She is his partner. She's the first in the room, the last in the room, and he's going to continue to work by her side to get it done. But beyond that, and the legislative process and how that will work, I don't have any update on that front. Go ahead.
Sticking on voting rights, with S4 being introduced in the Senate, the president has over and over talked about the pathways that voting rights legislation could take. Same thing that he, apparently yesterday he said he was alluding to when he said real possibility, right? Talking about what could possibly happen on the Hill. He's never talked about voting rights with any kind of real possibility of a filibuster carve-out. And there's a real frustration. Some people got arrested just yesterday among activists on the voting rights issue. So other than where we're frustrated, we stand with you, what do you have to say to activists who are saying this White House, the president, isn't doing enough on voting rights specifically?
I think that was just the question I just answered, no?
We're trying to get an answer from you. I mean, it's a legitimate question.
I'm not saying it's not. I would say that the president is also frustrated that voting rights has not been done. He's also frustrated that Republicans are so afraid of making reforms that would make it easier for people to vote, that they have blocked this effort. And he is frustrated that despite everything that's happened around the country, there isn't more of a movement to get this done. I don't mean by activists. Certainly there's a movement there in Congress. What he was speaking to yesterday was the fact that there is live conversations right now about a range of options on the debt limit. He was not speaking to anything beyond that, and that's what is happening on Capitol Hill in this particular moment. That's it. And so I would convey to activists that he is absolutely committed. He wants to get this done. He wants to sign it into law. The vice president just had meetings today on it. She is in the lead on this effort as one of the most powerful people in this country, maybe even in the world, leading this effort.
I mean, he's the president. So when I talk to activists, they say, you're the president. If you're frustrated, do something, right? So I guess that is what we're.
Congress is a separate body. It's a separate body. You need 50 votes to change the filibuster. You also need the majority of votes to pass legislation into law. He has made clear that he wants voting rights to be passed into law. He will continue to advocate publicly, privately, and continue to be a partner to the vice president. He absolutely feels this is essential, and we need to get it done. Go ahead, Patsy.
Thank you, Jen. I want to follow up on Taiwan. Administration officials, including yourself, I believe, on Monday, and Secretary Blinken today, essentially have issued warnings to China, urging China to stop its military activities in Taiwan. However, China has ignored that. In fact, it has dialed up sending even more military jets. So what does that say about the credibility of U.S. deterrence on this issue?
I think the Secretary of State spoke to this earlier. I don't think I have anything more to add to what he said. Go ahead.
How concerned are you that
she's going to run away?
Activities might actually escalate and then draw the U.S. into some sort of great power war with China? And so what are you doing to maintain tensions beyond kind of ad hoc meetings like the Zurich meeting that Jake Sullivan?
I wouldn't call a meeting with our National Security Advisor and his counterpart an ad hoc meeting. Obviously, we raise our concerns through a range of channels. The State Department also put out a public statement, a proactive statement on this, which is not something they do frequently, and the Secretary of State spoke to it today.
Have regular, meetings to make sure that things like this don't escalate into something bigger?
Of course we do, as you well know. Go ahead.
I have another debt ceiling question,
Sure.
but zooming much farther out. Earlier today, Jamie Dimon suggested getting rid of the debt ceiling altogether so that this scenario would not happen again. Secretary Yellen seemed to lend her support to that idea of getting rid of the debt ceiling altogether in the past. Has she spoken with the president about that idea, and does he have a position on sort of the larger question of whether or not it should or should not be abolished?
Right now, our focus is on raising the debt ceiling and the limited amount of time we have left to do that, and do it without impacting the retirement savings accounts, the Social Security, and the economic security of millions of Americans. There's plenty of time to have a conversation after that.
Quick follow-up, you were asked about the Uyghur anti-slave labor bill.
You asked me about it last week too, or the week before, I don't remember.
You've noted several times that the president has put out statements, there are sanctions as well. Does this administration, does the president feel that there's anyone in his administration that is opposed to this kind of bipartisan legislation?
I think it's all about taking a look at the legislation and figuring out if it's something we'd support moving forward, every component of it, and I'll check and see if we have a statement of administration policy on it.
You don't know of anyone in the administration who currently opposes this?
Again, we're not talking about whether or not we think the treatment of the Uyghurs is outrageous. It is. We've all said that. We're talking about a piece of legislation that has several components, and so I just want to make sure I go through the proper process with that. Go ahead.
I was just wanting to talk to you about food shortages real quick. I'm not sure if you were looking here, but I just wanted to say that on food shortages, we're seeing in schools the supply chain is kinked and affecting school lunches to the degree that kids are having bread or meat with no bread to make sandwiches, for example. And grocery stores ahead of the holidays are limiting the amount of food that you can actually purchase. So in regard to the debt ceiling talks, if the Senate votes no, ahead of Thanksgiving, ahead of Christmas, and the coming holiday season, if they say no, what will that mean in the big picture for this nation and food shortages and other product delinquencies?
Well, look, I would say I just want to make sure we're sending a clear message here about what the impacts of different things are. I know that's why you asked the question. You'd have to get me more information about how broadly the school issue you're referencing is. I have not heard that from the Department of Education. It doesn't mean that it is not the case in certain schools, but if you have more information on that, come share that with me. I would say that we know that unless Congress acts to raise the debt limit, what we're talking about here is people's retirement savings, their Social Security benefits, their economic security being at risk. That could mean all sorts of things, to your point, about people's economic security, especially people who are at or below the poverty line or above the poverty line, and we're seeing the impact on markets across the country. We don't want that to be the case, of course. That's why we're working to prevent this from happening. I would say in terms of the cost of meat and the cost of goods, we think there's a range of issues here. You referenced the supply chain. Another issue is the fact that there's not enough competition among big meat producers. It's something Secretary Vilsack spoke to when he was here just a few weeks ago, and something our Department of Agriculture and the Department of Justice also are working to take steps to address. Go ahead.
Real quick, one more on the shots. We do have an approval for Flowflex, I believe is the name of the rapid results test. And we were expecting today to hear more information about that, but I've written about this, and the New York Times is saying that one of the problems even in going to places like CVS to get a test is in some places you can't even buy a rapid results test. And being that school is in session and that we are going to be having more events, for example.
So Mona, that's exactly why we just announced a $2 billion investment that's going to quadruple the number of tests that are available at schools, community centers, and also to purchase at home.
So I'm talking about...
It's starting to happen now. Go ahead.
Just to follow up on John Kerry's comments.
Yeah.
You mentioned that he was, of course, aware of the displeasure after the deal was announced. Was he not aware of something before the deal was announced? Was he not aware that the French weren't read in? Was he not aware of the French deal on conventional submarines?
Look, I think right now what our focus is on is moving forward. As you know, and as President Macron spoke to, they're going to be meeting next month. We're working to finalize the details of that. As you saw, our national security advisor and members of our national security team have met with their counterparts or high-level officials in recent weeks. So at this point, what our focus is on is how we work with the French moving forward. Thanks, everyone.
She's such a trash bag. I like the reporters were like, yeah, we're trying to get an answer out of you. It's nearly impossible. I'm telling you, nobody but necrophiliacs is going to be at her funeral. Good Lord. All right. Well, we're ending it for real this time. I know she kind of caught us off guard last time, but that's all right because we made it back. And catch some more lying and crying and watch her get flustered. We're going to have to send Peter a t-shirt. We're going to have to figure out how to do that. Peter deserves to be a hooligan. He's already a hooligan. He just doesn't know it. Anyways, thank you guys for being here. I appreciate all of you coming back after we had a false shutdown there. If you're new, please subscribe or follow or do whatever you got to do to be connected to the platform you are currently watching. We go live every single day. And by connecting yourself to the platform, you're helping my channel grow to be able to bring on new viewers, to be able to see what's happening around them. So please follow and subscribe. Also join the Discord. It is free. Download it on your phone. Come to any of my lives. Go in the description. Find the link. You'll be greeted with an automated message letting you know that you've done all you need to do in order to receive notifications for when and where we go live. There's also awesome conversation going on 24 hours a day. It's been like a comedy show the last 3 days. You definitely want to be a part of the general chat in the Discord. It is awesome. So I hope to see all of you there. I'm going to be hopping on Discord as soon as I shut down the live. Welcome all the new hooligans and see what everybody's talking about. There's also tons of news in there. So if you want to be up to date on what's going on around the world, definitely join the Discord. Big shout out to everyone that made donations, joined the membership program, or purchased any merch. I really appreciate all of you. You guys are what's keeping the show going. I would not be able to do this without you. So thank you guys so much. For everyone that has donated, I just kind of wanted to put this out there. YouTube takes like 30 or 35% of everything donated, as well as all the memberships. I think Twitch takes a certain percentage too, but it's not as much. As far as I know, Odyssey and Rumble, they don't take from the donations. So that's just something to consider while we have those alternative platforms available to us. Someone had brought that to my attention. I thought I would share it with all of you. I appreciate you guys so much. All you hooligans out there. As I had stated earlier, ooh, that sounded real Jen Psaki, didn't it? She's rubbing off on me. Maybe I should say like 30 times. Anyways, I'm not sure what else is going on today. Things have been more active, which I think is a part of a distraction strategy that, you know, the government likes to do. But either way, BLM and all of them, they have been more active lately. Maybe we will be able to catch something going on a little bit later. Otherwise, I will see you guys tomorrow for more lying and crying from the White House. Thank you guys for being here. I appreciate all of you, and I will see you on the next live. Until then, stand tall, shine bright, and that's a wrap.